Hey gorgeous souls, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me for another one of my videos today. So today's video is a very exciting video. It is a how I manifested my dream first home video. Whoop whoop. So I've been so excited to create and film this video for you. It's been 5 months in the process, can you believe? Which I know for some people is still not a long period of time in the house buying process, but I just wanted to share with you a video on the highs and lows of the process, because I think, you know, especially for first time buyers, like I wish I'd known half of this stuff at the beginning, trust me. And you know, there were a lot of big money upgrades, there were a lot of blocks, there are a lot of things to overcome all within me. And you know, I just want to share with you the process of that, how we manifested it, what we did, the rituals we did, and how it came to fruition. So for anybody wanting to manifest a home or manifest their first home, then this is going to be a fantastic video for you with lots of tips, tools and tricks. Now I did do a podcast episode on this as well, and then realized, because I was so like, oh my god, I've just moved in, that I'd missed out a whole ton of information. So I've written a whole list on my phone. I've not missed anything. So I'm gonna have a clear, concise video today on exactly what we did and what I feel really helped this process. But if you're new here to my channel, then welcome. My name's Emma. I'm an award-winning life coach and 2-time best-selling author, law of attraction YouTuber here on my channel, and I'm the host of the #1 spirituality podcast on iTunes, Spiritual Queen's Badass Podcast. And here on this channel, I cover all things law of attraction, manifestation, spirituality, and self-help. So not only do I really hope you're going to enjoy this video, but the abundance of videos here on my channel over the last 8 years. So where do we begin? We begin a few years ago when I met my partner, obviously, but over the last, I would say, year, we've been speaking about obviously living together. We knew we wanted to buy somewhere because we'd both rented we're both 30, so we'd rented for a long time and we knew we just want to buy. Like, we had no reservations about that. So we knew that we wanted to buy our first home together. We knew that it would be this year because numerous psychics had said it, but just, you know, intuitively we felt that as well, because you know, my partner was in a tenancy contract, I was, and it was just kind of like the best timing for us and the best timing for a lot of things, especially within my work as well. So we knew that we wanted to start looking in January. So at Christmas/New Year, I bought my boyfriend, and I'll post a little picture here, some key rings from Amazon that were like our first home little key rings that form a little love heart, and you can put them on your keys. And I just bought this as kind of like a token for our new home, of like, this is going to be to celebrate our new home. This is going to be within our first home. So of course I was buying little decor pieces as well, because it's me. I was seeing stuff and I was like, oh my God, I really want that for the new home. So of course I was doing that. But something for us was those key rings. I kept mine in a drawer for 5 months, and my partner actually had his on his keys in his car for those 5 months. So I was surprised he did that, because normally I would think he'd be the one to put it in the drawer and I'd be the one having it out. But nope, he was manifesting actively and I was the one who had that sat in a drawer. But I think the act of buying it, the act of giving it, the act of us having that and knowing that was to manifest our home was powerful enough. So over New Year, we then set our intentions. So we wrote a dream home list on New Year's Eve with all the things that we wanted within our home. So we got really specific of like area. Now, because we weren't sure what our budget could afford area wise, we weren't like specific on it has to be in this area. We were more descriptive of the area, like, you know, quiet, nice, safe area, like, you know, things like that. So we didn't necessarily say it has to be in Dorset or it has to be in like wherever. It was more of a case of the energy of the area that we wanted, because we had no idea what area we could afford at that point. So we wrote a really specific list of like, you know, a house within our budget, if not below, because again, we didn't know what our budget was at that time. We wrote that we wanted 3 bedrooms. We wrote that we wanted, like, I wanted a light, airy house, loads and loads of things we got really specific on. I was like, I definitely want neutral. So there was lots of specific things that we went into within our list. So once we wrote our list, list. Obviously on New Year's as well, I did my famous 12 grapes under the table TikTok trend at midnight. And obviously one of my 12 goals on my 2023 list was to buy our first home by the age of 30. So by August when I turn 30. So manifested that too. So I did like a visualization while I was eating my grapes under the table at midnight, which sounds so silly, but it so worked. Please let me tell you, it worked a treat. And yeah, obviously I was visualizing my 12 goals and one of those was the house. So that's what I would say we did intention wise. Obviously I then started buying token items through decor because I was like, oh, that will look really good, or oh, I really want that. So that was happening through the whole process. And then really from January, I would say the end of January is when I was like, right, this is going to take some time. So why don't we start looking now? So now we're onto the mortgage section side of things. So with the mortgage, I reached out to our mortgage advisor, Charlotte, who is my lovely friend Hannah's sister. So I always knew she was going to be our mortgage advisor. We'd spoken about it for years, but we did actually speak to 4 mortgage advisors because a lot of people advised us to get like multiple opinions, multiple offers. So I was like, okay, yeah, doesn't hurt to have, you know, lots of options, right? So we worked with 4 mortgage advisors, including Charlotte. And I'd spoken to Charlotte the year before because I was freaking out a little bit because I'd just gone limited and I was like, oh God, what happens if I can't borrow what I think I can? Like, I want to know ahead of time so I can fix anything if I need to do anything within my business, because here in the UK, it's probably like this everywhere in the world. When you're self-employed or a business, mortgages are super tricky to get. And I was like, I don't know how this process works. I'm worried that like I'm not going to be able to buy a house next year. So I just wanted that peace of mind. So because had a year's books of limited and obviously 5 years at that point, sole trader accounts for this business, I was fine. So they used the sole trader and they used the limited business accounts the year 1. And Charlotte was like, yep, you're absolutely fine. You can borrow what you need. You're fine. And I was like, whew, okay, great, fantastic. I don't need to do anything. Brilliant. So my organized Virgo self was very relieved with that. And then when we came to the mortgage process this time, we'd already started looking, but had no idea what we could borrow and we didn't have a mortgage in principle. Everybody thought we were mad, and I was like, no, we just need to look at places. We don't know where we want to live, so we need to look at areas. And I said, there's so much for us to view. Like, we're just going to view this and then we'll get our mortgage in principle and we'll do it along the process. So we viewed so many different areas across Dorset and Somerset. And it was really nice to see all the different new build developments. We knew we wanted a new build. And yeah, it was just really nice to have a look at all these different areas and see what we could get for our money, see what kind of garden spaces, storage spaces, etc. So when we came to do our mortgage applications to get our mortgage in principle, Charlotte was like, yeah, it's looking quite different to where it was before. Now, obviously, we had my partner's income and my partner's finances at this point. Like Charlotte had just quoted me solely before. So I was like, okay, what's the problem? And she was like, it's you, Emma. She was like, Alex is absolutely fine. You're the problem. And I was like, great, okay. So basically, because I'd had 2 years limited accounts by that point, they couldn't include my sole trader accounts. So why that's a problem for anybody who's not a business owner or who's self-employed and is like, what is this? Please listen to this carefully. If you are thinking of going limited, think about it carefully, especially if you're about to buy a house. When you go from sole trader to limited, it resets the clock. In the eyes of HMRC, you've had a business for however many days since you started the limited company. So I'd had the company 5 years prior, obviously then 2 years limited. So in their eyes, I'd only had this business 2 years, which obviously I hadn't. I'd had it a lot longer. But a lot of lenders don't take that into account. They'll only take the limited accounts. And when you're a sole trader, every penny that you earn through your business is your money. So every single penny was counted. Whereas when you're a limited company, you have to pay yourself a salary. So obviously, every accountant says to their limited companies, pay yourself a smart amount of money so that you save on tax and, all these benefits that you get with it. So obviously I've always paid myself a nice amount of money because I want to live a good life. But I was obviously paying myself a lot less than what it looked like I was paying myself when I was sole trader. So because it's now Emma Mumford's money, not my money, according to lenders, I've only got what is my salary, which is obviously looks a heck of a lot less. So there was the problem. So we then had to get creative and find lenders who would do net profit, salary, dividends, and also take projections, because the company had hugely grown since the last tax return. So again, we needed a company that was going to take those projections into account as well. So in the end, to cut a very long story short, I had tons of sleepless nights. So we were missing £100,000. This was a lot of money. This wasn't like you just need to find 10 grand. This wasn't like you just need to find 25 grand. £100,000 to even make any of this possible. Even if I didn't find that money, we wouldn't even be able to afford a flat, basically. We wouldn't have been able to afford anything of what we needed size-wise. So we were like, well, if we can't do it, we're just not going to be able to buy a place, because it's just not going to be possible. We're not going to settle. I mean, we could have done shared ownership. We could have done other stuff, of course. But that was like worst case scenario. And I really didn't want worst case scenario. So I was like, right, I've got to manifest £100,000, and there's no way it could have come from my partner's income. He's a set salary, like his income was what it was. He was fine. It was all on my shoulders. So we had many sleepless nights over those 2 weeks thinking like, how are we going to find 100 grand? Can we borrow money? Can we how can we get this 100K? And somehow and in some way we did it. So we had one shot at this. There was only one lender who was willing to lend to us because of me, and who was willing to class dividends, net profit, and salary. And because they did, we got the amount we needed, the exact amount. We couldn't borrow a penny more. It was that exact amount. And I was like, oh my God, somehow we've done this. Now, Charlotte, to give some context, is a fantastic mortgage advisor. So I will put her details below, because I know a lot of people can be really in dire situations. And I'm not saying ours was a dire situation. It wasn't. It was just like, okay, but we really need that money. Like, this is getting like worrying, because, unfortunately, the system is so unfair to businesses, especially limited businesses. I'm the only person in the company. There's no other person drawing a salary. Everybody who works for me is freelance. So, it was just really like, oh my God, this is all on my shoulders. Like, how do companies do this? How do they buy homes? So if you are a company who has gone limited in the last 2 years or planning to, just think about it. Before you remortgage, before you get a mortgage, just think about obviously whether you want to go limited or not, because it does screw you over and people don't tell you that. And I'm just really lucky that we had one lender who was willing to look at the full picture and look at the sole trader accounts as well and know, okay, she's got money, she's fine, she's safe to pay us back. So it was a really stressful 2 weeks. Now, what I did within those 2 weeks, Charlotte, of course, was an incredible mortgage advisor. She has got, Hannah's always said to me, Charlotte has got mortgages for people in dire situations. And she's she is a miracle worker. And Charlotte's always said to us as well that she's always wanted to bring magic into her mortgages. Obviously, she's spiritual like us. And she said, we were always bringing our unicorns into this, come on, we need to manifest this money. So I think it really helped having Charlotte's spiritual side in that manifesting process, because she was holding that vision as well. She was setting those intentions. She was determined to get us that mortgage, and she did. By some miracle, she flipping did. So I highly recommend Charlotte, because nobody, the other 3 mortgage advisors, got nowhere near her in terms of what we could borrow. And when I told them and I was like, oh, thank you so much, but we decided to go with someone else, they were like, how has she got that mortgage? And I was like, I don't know, but she has. Between my accountant and between her, they made it happen in some way. And I'm so grateful that they did, because we wouldn't have this house if that hadn't have happened, right? I was obviously very emotionally detached to the process at that point, because we hadn't even found this house yet. So I was very much if it's meant to be, it will. If not, it doesn't matter. We'll buy a house when we're meant to. I trust the universe. Now, I have a level of trust because I have had a lot of situations in my life over the last 7 years where I've had to deeply and divinely trust in the unknown, and trust by taking the hugest leap into, oh my God, is this going to work out? And every time it has. So I'm aware that I have 7 years of built belief in manifestation behind me, but manifesting £100,000 was the biggest amount I've ever had to manifest, and that quickly. So I was in uncharted water of my own manifestation skills, especially with money. But I just kept repeating this mantra, and it just popped into my head one morning, and it makes no sense. But to me, it made perfect sense of, in somehow and in some way, the money always comes, the money is always met. And I just reflected and thought back of like, gosh, every time you've needed money, Emma, it has met you, it has appeared, it has arrived. Like every time you've had to spend money and you've thought, oh God, like I didn't really want to spend that much, instantly it's returned. So I was like just thinking back of all these instances in my life and my business where money has always been met, the money's always come. And I was like, why do you think for 1 second that this won't be met? So I think what was also conflicting as well is that it was a mortgage allowance, not like hard cold cash. So I think when we actually manifested it, and my partner was like, how the heck have we done that? I'm like, I don't even know. I kind of doubted whether I'd manifested it, because I was like, well, it's not like that came through my business, or it's not like, and I knew that it couldn't come through my business, that money, because otherwise I'd have to pay a huge amount of tax to be able to withdraw that. And then that would screw me over in business ways. So I knew that that money couldn't come through the business. I was open to it, but also like that would be a blooming nightmare. So I knew it had to come through mortgage allowance, ideally, or someone just gifting us £100,000. So because it came through mortgage allowance, I doubted whether it was real. And I was like, hold on, like the bank is paying that money, Emma, like you are paying that money back. Do you know what I mean? Like just because it's not hard cold cash that you are paying towards the house, the bank is. It's not made up money. It's not invisible money. The bank's not just saying, hey, we'll just give you an extra 100K and you don't worry about paying us back. I've got to pay it back, right? So for me, I think just not being able to see that money, I doubted it. And I think I had to remind myself, well, I know I had to remind myself of, Emma, it's real money. That money exists. The money has to be transferred to the solicitor. The money has to be in the sale. So you have manifested that £100,000, because it's not made up money. They're not just going to let you off 100K. Like you need that money. So the 2-week period that we were manifesting this money over was actually as we were finding the house. So we got like different mortgage and principals for different values. So we had one for like the original value, and then obviously we couldn't find anything. And I was like, Charlotte, we need that 100K. So I knew a benchmark figure of what we would need to be able to afford the caliber of house that we wanted. So that's how we got our mortgage in principle. So we had it when we found this place, and it was just a huge weight off our shoulders when I was like, oh, okay, we can afford the house that we want. So to recap on the mortgage, because again, I feel like that was the most stressful part of all of this. I mean, trying to find any money is stressful, but 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K, 100K, when you're looking at that, like you're kind of like, okay, universe. So I feel like my level of belief and manifestation absolutely did help that. But I also feel that mantra that I just, every time I felt anxiety, every time Charlotte was like, right, there's another block, there's another hurdle, like we're gonna need to pray that this goes through, that this is gonna like get past. And the problem was, it was all on my shoulders. It wasn't like anything my partner could do. It was me and my business. So for me, I was like, okay, no pressure, Emma. It all lies on your shoulders of you and Charlotte being able to make this happen. So that mantra I just repeated every day of, the money is always met, the money always comes in some way and somehow. If this house is meant to be ours, it will be. So I just kept saying that, and it just brought this huge sense of relief to me of like, whew. And I just, every time I said it, it instantly relaxed me, which a lot of affirmations don't tend to do, especially when I'm like worst case scenarioing. So clearly it was an aligned affirmation to really relax me. And that's what I always say with affirmations. Find something that relaxes you. Find something that does calm your nervous system and does bring you that relief, because that's how you know to work with it, right? So I wouldn't say there was anything hugely, and I did cover in my Moldavite video as well, actually, that I do believe the Moldavite crystal also helped with this process, because Moldavite is known to up level your finances and your money mindset, and oh boy, it did. And there were huge blocks with me of like, this is a whole new money manifestation that I've never done before. Am I going to be able to manifest 100K just like that? I mean, I've manifested that and more over 7 years, but like just like that, in one lump sum as well. So I feel like there was 100% money blocks and new level, new devil. And up leveling to this house as well, because there were definitely worth blocks around feeling worthy of this house and feeling worthy of a house, like a first house of that level. Because don't get me wrong, I feel incredibly privileged and lucky to have such a big, beautiful house as a first home. So I really had to sit with a few blocks around worth, around receiving it, around feeling like I deserved it. So I feel like all of this was coming up. And again, we hadn't even found this house yet. All of this was coming up in that mortgage process. And I think, again, like it threw me back to being in debt all those years ago. So there was like debt, things that came up I had to clear, like energetically and from my subconscious around being in debt again by having a mortgage. Oh boy, I mean, it was so much fun for my therapist when all of this was coming up, and for me, because I was like, oh my God, I did not expect all these blocks to come up. But I was hugely upgrading to be able to step into this reality, to step into this home. So it was only like expected that those blocks would come up. So I was definitely tested block-wise. I was definitely tested faith-wise. I was definitely tested in quite a few areas by the universe. And it's ironic that my partner was fine and it was all on my shoulders, because I was like, of course it's me who has to do the inner work. Of course it's me who's up leveling to this house and to be able to afford it, right? So there was a lot of inner work that came up. And again, I had sessions with the people I work with. I did EMDR, which I swear by, and obviously teach my clients as well, because it's just life-changing. I did all my money block tools that I teach and love. I was reading Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffel Thomas at the same time. So I feel like a compilation of all these things really, really helped to just up level my money mindset and step into, no, you do blooming deserve this. You've worked so hard over your career. You deserve this. So it was self-worth upgrades, money upgrades for sure. So once we finally had our mortgage in principle for the amount we needed, we were then basically condensing down areas of what were the nicest houses. We hadn't looked in this area yet. This was the last area we looked in. And basically the funny story is my mum found this house on Rightmove. And as soon as she sent it to me, I was like, Mum, it's £15,000 over budget. Like, you're crazy. No. And it's also a blue house. I don't want to live in a blue house. And the kitchen's green. And I just found a ton of problems with it, a ton of problems. And Mum was like, look, just go and view it. Like, it has everything you want. It's got your garage, garden, new build, huge. Like, just go and view it. So they kept pestering me and I was like, no. And my partner was like, look, just go and view it to shut them up. Like, let's just go and view it. So we viewed it the day that we were viewing all the houses in this area. And I think I worked out we viewed about 30 properties in total. Again, this being the last one, because of course we found that made an offer on this one. So of course it was the last house we viewed. So we went and looked at lots of different areas. And I did really like a couple in Weymouth that I really liked, which was close to where I lived before. But they were very cramped. They were very small new builds, and there were a lot of sacrifices, no wardrobes, no blinds, no shutters, nothing. So we'd have to spend quite a bit of money in there, and the space would have been really small. We were like overlooking other houses. It was just like not a vibe, but it felt like, well, that's all we can afford. So it kind of felt like, well, that's the best we've seen until we saw this one. So when we came to this house in this area, none of the other new builds were as nice. Definitely Wire Homes are like, oh my gosh, the best like caliber of house and specifications and built-in wardrobes, like all these things. So this was someone's home. It wasn't new build. They'd lived in it for a year. So obviously they'd put shutters, carpets in, etc. So we could just move straight in, which was really good. The only problem was it was £15,000 over budget. So we came in and obviously loved it. And I was like, actually, I really like it. I think I could get over the green kitchen. I think I could get over the blue house. And I actually just felt really good energy from the home. But I was like, well, I like it, but we can't afford it. So what do we do? And Dad was like, I'll get you 15 grand off. And me and Mum were like, for God's sake, you're not going to get £15,000 off. The market's still very competitive, like, for God's sake. So my dad did not get £15,000 off, but we did manifest the money extra that we needed. So again, even more money that we had to manifest. And again, I was super open because I was like, look, it's a really nice house, but we have seen other houses. I know those other ones are sacrifices, and There were no sacrifices with this house, you know, a few DIY things, color changes, but no sacrifices. The rooms were really big, built-in wardrobes. It felt really luxurious. The fixtures and fittings were so much better than the Fry's houses we'd viewed. Like it was a whole nother level. It felt like rich queen energy in this house, right? Whereas the others felt nice, but just not as luxurious. So and somehow, in some way, we manifested the money. Our offer got accepted. We did get some money off, and that was it. We'd got our home, and then began the very long 12-week process of stress. So I feel like the house viewing process was really fun and really nice. It was quite stressful in some points because it was a realization of being in the location I probably didn't want to be in, but I knew I was going to live in. So my intuition had told me years ago I was going to live in this area. So it wasn't a shock, but I was kind of like, it's going to be a big move. It's going to be a big change, but actually I'm really loving it. So it's not a sacrifice, but it felt like that. I obviously, you know, uprooting all your life, everything you've known for 20 years of your life, like it was a lot. So yeah, moving to this area has been, you know, I guess like an adjustment for me, but it's actually been really exciting and I'm really loving it so far. So it's all good. So the 12-week long process was stressful, and it was stressful for a number of reasons. So we had the most amazing solicitor. Will was just so lovely, so good energy, so good vibes. And he was just the most helpful, amazing person that we could have had in that process. So honestly, like the people on our side of things, Charlotte, our solicitor, were just so positive and so lovely people to work with. Like I have so much gratitude and respect for them because especially our solicitor had to deal with a lot of crap and I wouldn't want to do his job, put it that way. So it was not the process that we wanted. Like I said, the people were splitting up. So read into that how you want to. It was very challenging and yeah, it was just not great as our first experience of buying a home. It was not the experience we wanted, but it is what it is. You can't have everything perfect in life. And, you know, when you're dealing with other people, other people's energy, like you just, do you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. So it wasn't fun and it was really difficult. And there were lots of times I had to speak my truth, especially to the estate agents, because we were just being taken for a ride, quite frankly. And it didn't need to be like that. And it almost felt like that they didn't want our money. And I was like, I just don't understand why, if you're so desperate to sell a house, you would treat people like this, but fine. There was a point where absolutely everybody, including our solicitor, told us to pull out because it was that ridiculous and had got just, I don't even know. Like, I think I'm still emotionally coming down from that whole experience because none of it was needed. None of it was necessary. But what can you do? Like, if people are going to do their own thing, they're going to do their own thing. And it reflected in how the house was left as well, sadly. So when we moved in after those 12 long weeks of frustrations, of blocks, of stress, of everybody telling us to pull out, we kept, you know, and the problem is even if we had have pulled out or whatever, there wasn't anything else that even like came to this standard. So we knew that we wanted this house, and like I said in my energy things I've done with the home so far, on Tuesday's video, you know, every time I connected to this house and connected out, you know, away from the BS of the process, the house felt so good. It felt so calm. It felt like ours. It felt good. So I just had to keep tuning in and keep just, you know, chucking out the BS and, you know, grounding into my own energy, speaking our truth when we had to, standing up for ourselves when we had to. And again, like, it was just, I could probably laugh at how ridiculous the whole process was, but we got there, and that's the only thing that matters, is we got there. And yeah, I definitely think I should probably laugh, otherwise I think I'd cry about it all. But one thing I forgot to mention as well, when we found this house, so my mum kept pushing us to view it, as I said, and when we obviously like were driving off after viewing it for the first time, I was like, just got this intuitive hit of like, that's our house. I was like, that's our house. And mum was like, flipping told you. And I was like, what? And she was like, as soon as I saw it, I knew it was your house. So my mum claims to have this incredible intuitive abilities, which she does, to be fair. She is right a lot of the time. But she was like, as soon as I saw that house, I knew it was yours, and I knew I had to push you to go view it. Now, obviously, I'm happy she did, because I was ready to write it off. in true Emma style. But yeah, once I'd had that intuitive hit of that's our house, I just knew. But again, I kept very relaxed throughout the process because the sellers could have pulled out, we could have pulled out. Bloomin' heck, so much happened in those 12 weeks that like I had to be so surrendered to like, if it's meant to be, it's gonna be. If not, something better, universe, because Jesus Christ. So yeah, there was a lot of surrender, but it's interesting that me and my mum, well, I didn't know, but my mum knew, and then I had that intuitive hit. When we saw it, it just felt really special because I think that's what kept us going throughout all of this. And even through the process, I actually remember having such weird dreams. Like there was a point in this process where I really feel like, especially with eclipse season, there was like sliding doors moments with this house. Like I had this vivid dream of a spirit guide saying to me like, don't worry, like if this house doesn't work out, there's another house. It's all about alignment. You're fine. And obviously when we were thinking of pulling out, I was like, it's all good. I've had this dream. So, you know, a lot of us, like my friends, my mum, we all had this feeling at that point of like, I actually feel like this could go either way. And there's actually another house that could come in. So I wouldn't say that we were 100% through this process. Like it's our house, it's all good. Probably quite the opposite. But I think just having that level of openness and that level of surrender like really helped to navigate the ups and downs and turbulent waters of that process. And obviously, luckily, the house did come through and it all worked out. And it was okay. So when we actually got the keys to the house, like I said, it wasn't the best experience. We walked into a house with holes in the walls, like big holes in the walls. I had to clear bin bags of the people's possessions from the house. They'd left stuff in all the cupboards. And also there was bins all on, like they'd filled up all the bins and just left it all on the road. So we had no bins for a couple of weeks, which was also fun. So yeah, I think that summarizes the vibe of those 12 weeks where I was like, after everything, okay, universe, right. So obviously they're like rectifiable things. I think just out of principle, it's pretty disrespectful, but 'tis what it is, right? And at the end of the day, the house felt amazing. And that's why I was really surprised that the vibes felt so good in the house and I didn't have to cleanse straight away, because I did really think that there would be like negative energy or like, you know, just like residue from them. But actually there wasn't. So that was one lucky surprise that I was obviously very happy to have in the home. So I have done a video on how I've cleansed the home, what rituals I did in my old home and this new home. So go watch that. I'll link it down below for you. But actually the energy of this home is really, really nice. And I think that's the one thing that kept me going through this process, was connecting to the energy of this home. I spoke about it on the podcast and in that energy video from Tuesday as well, about how when the blocks were there, Callista, who came on the podcast, was telling me like, connect to the home, connect to the house elemental, ask what the blocks are, ask if it's happy for you to live there. You know, obviously if they said no, that'd have been a bit awkward at that point. Like, sorry guys, we've got to pull out, the house elementals don't want us. But luckily it was a yes. And just being able to connect to the home and finding out the blocks was really reassuring and nice, because again, it just connected me outside of the BS of the human stuff that was happening. And actually I could just be like, look, the house does want us. It is going to be good in the end. It's going to be fine. We've just got to get through this process and have some good therapy afterwards, and, you know, just keep our cool, keep our calm. So once we went no contact with everyone, that was definitely a massive weight off all of our shoulders, including our solicitors, because I think he'd had enough of all of it as well. And I think that was, again, like I said, there were a lot of instances where we had to speak our truth and we had to speak up and we had to like be like, no, we're not tolerating this, like that's not on. And I'm glad we did all of that. So I think, again, that just echoed the self-worth up leveling, the money up leveling that we'd had in that mortgage process. So I would say I learned a heck of a lot along this process for sure. And I definitely don't want to move anytime soon because, oh my God, just no. And they say that buying any home, you know, whether it's a first home or any home, is the most stressful thing that you will do. And I never want to affirm that. I never want to like play into those like old wives' tales or whatever. But it kind of was. So I think if you are going to buy your own home or you're in the process of it, just be prepared. Like, it's stressful, but if you've got a good solicitor on your side, if you've got good people on your team, you're going to be fine. And I think, you know, the fact that our solicitor was so amazing and so positive and such good energy, same with Charlotte, same with our removal people, I think just paid dividends to the energy that we were bringing to, you know, to this house there and to this house as well. So it was nice to have those people supporting us and cheerleading us as well. So now that we're in the house, we've been in for a week and a half. This is my first YouTube videos that I'm filming in this space as well. It is really good, and it's really funny because my old house had very like masculine energy of like, it was a house where you were gonna work hard, and oh boy did I. Whereas this house is like such a chill feminine vibe. Like, I am literally like, I just want to sit in the garden, ground in. There's so much nature here as well, like, which is fantastic. So I'm just at the moment submerged within nature. We've got beautiful views from our windows of the fields behind us, and we've got some lovely sheep who come and sing all night long and bar, and Luna loves them. She's obsessed with them. She keeps getting us to lift her up to the fence or the windows to watch them. Luna's settling in really well. She's met some lovely doggy friends. She's loving all her new walks as well. So actually, like, I think Luna was the one thing I was worried about as well, because she's got such amazing best friends back where I used to live, doggy friends. But, you know, I'm only half an hour away, so we can always go visit, and she's loving all her walks here, and she's settled in really well as well, which is good. I feel like I've settled in quite well. I feel like because I've done all this energy stuff and made that my priority, I feel like it feels like home already. The fairies are definitely there. I talk about the fairy energy in my energy video of the energy of the home and what I've done. So, and it's really interesting because I did a first webinar in my manifestation membership, and you could just see stuff flying around all in this video, and I was like, oh, they're there. So the energy is very active in this house, but in a really good way. And I just feel like really at home already. I feel really settled. I feel like I really like the area that we're in. It's a really nice area. And I just feel like a huge up-leveling has happened now that I'm in the house as well, around my mindset, around my work mindset as well, around wanting to rest, around wanting to, realign with this season of my life. And it's really interesting. It's just really interesting, the downloads and the energy that has come through for me over the last few weeks in this home. So I'm excited to see where it takes us. I'm excited to see what we experience within this house. And I'm excited to get to know the house as well. But it's been a journey over the last 5 months, and definitely one I need a holiday from 100%. So I will be enjoying the home, but also enjoying a nice holiday soon as well, for sure. Especially to celebrate my 30th. But there's like a double manifestation here of manifesting the house, manifesting it before I was 30, manifesting the money we needed. So there's like a lot to this story. So if you've got this far, thank you. But I think it's, you know, important to hear all the highs and lows of people's stories, because I feel like sometimes when you watch manifestation stories, it's like, oh, look what I manifested. But actually, when you go through the process, like, you are going to be tested, you are going to be up leveled, and you have to become that version of yourself who has that desire. So I had to become the version of myself who had this house, who was worthy of this house, who had that money mindset for this house. So obviously it's totally all worth it now. And I think, you know, everybody used to say to us during all the lows of this process, once you're in, it will be worth it. And 100% it is. It's just frustrating when you have to go through a frustrating process sometimes, because you're like, oh, couldn't it have been easier? But I guess, like, would you have learned what you needed to learn? Would you have up-leveled in the way you needed to up-level if you didn't go through those things? So, you know, it's one of those things that in hindsight you can be like, it was worth it. Whereas at the time you're like, is it worth it? So 100%, if you're going through the process, and I have so many friends who have been sat in the house buying process, especially their first house, for like 6 months plus. So we were relatively lucky to get in within like 5 months. Well, it was a 12-week process really, but we did like viewings and mortgage before that, obviously. Maybe it was more than 12 weeks. It was the end of February, and then we moved in the middle of May. So I think it was more than 12 weeks, but that in my head, I thought it was 12 weeks. But I guess that's not relatively long, but especially for a purchase that was meant to have no chains, it was quite long. So, yeah, but we got there, and our solicitor was like, yeah, it'll only take 6 weeks. not his fault in any way, shape or form, but we laugh at that now. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to Will, our solicitor, Charlotte, our mortgage advisor, for being so epic, and our removals as well. I haven't even bloody mentioned the removals. So our removals were Saturn removals, picture here of the van because everyone's been loving it on social media. So oh my gosh, they were just literally the best. I found them through just seeing them in my local area. Every eclipse season I would see Saturn removals moving everybody, and I was like, how funny. And like the van says on it, removals out of this world, and I'm like, ah. So I always just loved the synchronicity of that. And ironically, when we got quotes, I was like, I have to get a quote from Saturn removals. So they ironically were the cheapest, the most friendliest, and like I was like, hell yes, 100% hell yes. So they were the best. Terry and Dan were the loveliest people who moved us. So lovely, so amazing, and just great energy as well, and just highly recommend them as well. So if you're in the Dorset area, there you go, fantastic recommendation of removals. And everyone was like, well, clearly the move is Saturn approved, universe approved, and I was like, clearly it is. So yeah, the actual move went really smoothly. There wasn't really any hiccups with the move or settling in or anything like that. It was more just the buying process that was the most funnest part of it. But yeah, I guess like what's next? Well, I don't think there's anything next. I think we're just going to be like working on bits in the house. We've painted the kitchen tiles. We're going to be painting the paneling behind the bed once our bed's here. We're waiting for our new sofas. So a lot of the rooms are like done. Like my office is kind of like done. There's just like artwork to go up, like a few tweaks. We've got minimal boxes in the house now. Apparently I have more books than I thought I did, so I've got no idea where I'm putting all these books. And this is a much bigger house. I've got more bookcases and space than I did before. So I don't know how I've accumulated this many books, but I'm an author. I love reading, so it's gonna happen. So I need to find some. I'm looking at the box of books now and I'm like, I need to find a home for them. So we've got a lovely garage space, lots of storage, even though I feel like I still have things I can't store, but our bed has under bed storage, so I think I'm gonna utilize that. So yeah, we're still waiting on a few furniture pieces. There's a few like DIY things to do, like putting some shelves up, pictures, stuff like that. We've got our pendant light for our kitchen table coming today actually, which oh my god, I'm so excited about. It is chef's kiss when you see it. So I'm really enjoying the decor process, really enjoying decorating everything. That is where I thrive in life. So yeah, that's been the funnest part for me, seeing my vision come to life, and I've been designing everything for months. So it's nice to see everything come to life and yeah, look the way that you wanted it to. But I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry it's so long as always, but I feel it's good to like give details and be thorough with what we did, because again, if you're going through that process, it all helps, right? And at least if you're wanting to purchase your first home or manifest a home, you know what we did and you know what to do if those things arise, especially if you're a limited company. And also, I just want to say quickly as well, thank you so much to everyone for all your lovely well wishes, your lovely messages on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere for the house. I'm so, so grateful to have so many amazing supportive people, and just having your love and support and happiness for the house as well has just meant the absolute world. So thank you. And of course, everything that I've mentioned will be linked in the description below as well. So go and have a look at that. But thank you so much, gorgeous souls, for watching. I appreciate all your views and likes. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, because I would love to see you again soon. Don't forget to leave me a comment in the comments box down below, because I reply to them all. And don't forget, you can also join my free Law of Attraction support group over on Facebook, where you can join myself and other like-minded souls, where we talk all things Law of Attraction and spirituality. I hope you have a fabulous day, whatever you are up to, and I'll see you all in my next video, which will be on Tuesday. Lots of love.